I want to call to the stage for a fireside chat on hacking policy and malicious innovation. The one, the only, the rock star. She is an analyst, an author, and researcher at the Blavatnik ICRC Tel Aviv University. You probably already know her, Keren Elazari.
So much. Thank you again, Manny. What a pleasure. What a privilege. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming back to hang out with me this afternoon. What I'd like to do in the short time that we have together is a few things. I'd like to talk about hacking policy. But first, I'd like to talk about something else. I want to talk about malicious innovation. Malicious innovation is what I refer to when I look at all of the incredible, clever, and creative developments that cyber criminals are up to these days. The last couple of years have been an absolute criminal renaissance. And with the advent of generative AI, we're seeing more and more cleverness, creativity, and speed on the side of the attackers. So let's bring up an old friend of mine from a few years ago. Anybody know this guy? I imagine that you do. By the way, how many people knew that the person doing battle with Donkey Kong is Super Mario? So this is how Nintendo's Super Mario got his start, by trying to defend the world from a big gorilla throwing down barrels of flaming fire and oil. This is what I believe most cyber professionals have been doing in the past couple of years. We've been like Super Mario, bravely running around, climbing ladders, running away, trying to defend the world from the gorillas out there, the cyber criminals that can do whatever they like, acting like a big 500-pound gorilla. So this was us. We were like Super Mario. But how are we going to look in the future? Well, in the future, we're going to see attackers using the same techniques, but doing it 5,000 times faster. We're going to see attackers using AI and automation to do incredible things. And in fact, this is already happening. So let's talk about attacker innovation. What do I mean when I say attacker innovation? There's incredible automation at the hands of attackers. They're using automation and innovation for things like their branding, creating texts, reaching out to people, creating variations on their emails. They're using technology and automation in their business models, and with the double and triple threat with the extortion models in ransomware. Anybody here hear about software as a service? I imagine you have. Maybe you heard about infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. Well, how about ransomware as a service? Ransomware as a service is a very popular form of innovation that criminals are taking advantage of. And automation is making life easy for them and faster for them. They recruit insiders by sending messages to thousands of employees within the companies that they attack. So criminals are recruiting accomplices from among their victims, and they have an incredibly fast deployment cycle. Anybody here know what happened 3 weeks ago on Tuesday, June 6th? Anybody know what happened on Tuesday, June 6th? Well, I'll give you a spoiler alert. It was Patch Tuesday. The first Tuesday of every month is Patch Tuesday. That's the day that Microsoft puts out patches to many of their popular products. So when Patch Tuesday happens, within hours, criminals get to reverse engineer some of these patches, and they use AI and automation to make life easy and faster for them. So what happens on Wednesday? Exploit Wednesday. Patch Tuesday, Exploit Wednesday. Criminals have been rolling out exploits faster than ever before. And they are in a constant evolution of their business model, their products, their technology. We hear about variants of ransomware for the Mac OS. We hear about criminals using generative AI to create deep fake videos, voices, and different types of fraud and attack. Now, if we were in Silicon Valley right now and I was describing a new company to you doing all of these incredible things, you would call that innovation. And you would have your checkbook ready, or maybe your cryptocurrency wallet ready, to invest in these clever criminals. So the past couple of years, an absolute criminal renaissance. But the last couple of months, that renaissance is on a hyper speed to the future because of generative AI. So the reason that everybody's mentioning generative AI is because of how popular these platforms have now become, but more than popular, how accessible these platforms have now become. So many of us here in the room can now communicate with generative AI tools. Let's bring this point home, because I think this is the real revolution here. It only took 64 days for ChatGPT, generative AI ChatGPT, to get to 100 million users. And that was quite a few months ago. Let's put it in perspective. How many months to get to 100 million users for Google Docs and Google Translate? 78 months. For Uber, 70 months. For Telegram, 61 months. For Spotify, 55 months. For Pinterest, 41 months. Instagram, 30 months. TikTok, the previous gorilla in the market, 9 months. ChatGPT, OpenAI, only 2 months, 64 days to get to 100 million users. By the end of this year, it's expected that OpenAI will be used by more than 2 billion human beings. And we've already heard earlier today on this stage that in a lot of enterprise networks, there are 45 times more devices and interactions and identification that needs to take place for machines and services, not for human beings. Now, some of the people using OpenAI are going to be criminals. And we've already seen in demonstrations and in proof of concept attacks that a clever hacker can take advantage of generative AI to create fileless, polymorphic malware and non-existent code packages. What do I mean by this? It sounds super technical, but it's actually quite simple. Fileless polymorphic malware is malware that can be deployed on the spot. Therefore, it is much more evasive. It is polymorphic. That means that every iteration of it, the code changes, thereby bypassing a lot of the conditional, current, traditionally used security technologies that are out there. Researchers were already able to trick ChatGPT into writing fileless polymorphic malware for them and deploying it. This is already done. What about non-existent code packages? What do I mean by that? How many programmers and engineers do we have today in the room? Anybody here write code? You, sir? Okay, a few people up there in the balcony. A few programmers as well. Thank you. Hello, I see you. So programmers today, do you write your own code? No, of course not. You import code packages, you import libraries, you use tools like GitHub and other packages and enterprise tool, and of course a lot of engineers use OpenAI and other AI tools as a co-pilot to help them write their code. So what happens when an AI recommends that you import a code package that doesn't actually exist? A criminal sets up a package with that exact name, with malicious payload implanted inside. So this is an AI-powered supply chain attack. And we've already seen this is happening. So perhaps in the last couple of years, you've heard the statement, software is eating the world. What we're experiencing right now is that AI is eating software. In the next couple of years, AI is going to fundamentally transform the way human beings write technology and interact with technology. Now, this is especially important, not just because AI is a big deal for humanity, but also because cyber attacks taking advantage of AI are a big deal for humanity. I studied in the Israeli military trainings in the officers' school the important works of military historian Karl von Clausewitz. Many of you might have studied the same. About 200 years ago, Karl von Clausewitz said, war is simply the continuation of politics by other means. However, now it's the 21st century, and in the AI age, cyber war is the continuation of politics by other means. This is how we need to address this new world. The boundaries have shifted, technology is moving faster than ever. Therefore, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite a very special guest of mine. For the first time on the Tel Aviv Cyber Week stage, on the big stage, my sister, Dr. Amit Elazari Bar-On, to talk about how we can come up with AI-powered policy solutions to these very problems. Please help me by welcoming Amit Elazari from OpenPolicy. First time on the Tel Aviv stage, first time sisters together. Let's smile to the camera. Hello, Shlomi, thank you. He's the best photographer here. No, Dror, I also like you. I like all of them. So, Amit, the stage is yours. Tell them about AI-powered policy solutions and your vision for this future. I'll be right here.
Thank you, Keren. And it's a pleasure and honor to share the stage with you. Most of you don't know, our first, I think, talk together, keynote stage was RSA 2019. Already there, we talked about the future of cybersecurity from a policy and a hacker and legal perspective. And today I'm honored and humbled to share this stage with you, to share a little bit about my own and our vision in OpenPolicy and how to better connect future trajectories of attacks, of what is going on with the industry on security, with policy and regulators. So you're probably wondering, how come I'm here and how I stumbled upon security? Well, it has to have a lot with my hacker sister. And of course, every hacker needs a lawyer. So as you can hear, I'm also Israeli, and I grew up in sunny Tel Aviv, but I moved to California to pursue my doctoral degree in the law at UC Berkeley. And I was very passionate about the interaction between contracts and technology. So passionate, I'm one of the only people that took the time to read hundreds of contracts and terms of services on the web. And my sister here told me all about the power of hackers and how we can help security researchers to better connect with corporations, with governments, and organizations. Turns out, I was the first law student to read a lot of bug bounty contracts. And that's how I stumbled upon this phenomenon of bug bounty contracts and bug bounty platforms and discovered a way to create a policy to better connect policymakers and industry with hackers, which ended up in changing the landscape for anti-hacking. But I want to tell you a little bit about my passion about policy and what I'm very excited about OpenPolicy. So when I started this work, I started with a law paper because that's what we do in the law. And I wrote a long paper with many citations and footnotes on how these bug bounty contracts are putting hackers at risk. Turns out, law papers and academic publication need a little bit, sometime, additional help and coalitions to move the needle. So as a student, I decided to go to DEF CON upon invitation from my sister and create a coalition of the top hackers in the world. And I invited them to go on a strike and tell the big companies they're not hacking until we're fixing that landscape. And I was a student, turns out it worked, and with the help of the community, we started to work together and cultivate a movement around the need to change the contractual landscape for security researchers. That's how I ended up meeting Elon Musk and getting this beautiful challenge coin from Tesla. That was 2017 and 18, but it also introduced me to the power of policy. And it taught me that with a big idea and some passion, and with the help of the crowds, and with the help of everyone here, you can actually move the needle. You can change laws, you can impact industry, and you can really embark upon a journey to bring everyone together. If you're interested to find more about my past endeavor, Disclosure is the nonprofit. It ended up in the Supreme Court. And now we have thousands of organizations around the world that are adopting these protections for hackers. But the reason I'm really passionate about this, because I believe each of you here in the room, if you are thinking about security, if you're thinking about products in security, if you're thinking about innovation, you should immerse yourself in this landscape of policy. And we just heard from Keren about how AI is eating the world, including software. Well, guess what? Policymakers are absorbing these innovations. They are absorbing what is happening. They are absorbing attacks. And as we see attacks, we immediately see a reaction in the policy landscape. So we like to think about the laws and regulation as something that is stifling and kind of going behind technology. But the reality is that technology can create markets too. So most of you might be familiar with the executive order in the United States that talked about supply chain security in the aftermath of the SolarWinds attack. But I want to present for you, I'm just going to take 30 seconds, the future of security policy. We are going to see an explosion in the policy landscape. Product security regulations are emerging. We have now two main jurisdictions, the EU with the NIS2 directive and the US with the first federal incident reporting and ransomware payment reporting law in implementation, changing the trajectory of products that are going to be relevant for incident reporting and cyber threat analysis. We have this movement towards security measurability and certifications and desire to create more attestation. And we have a lot of focus on collaboration with hackers and security researchers, and we have this beautiful conference right here besides on Thursday where we're going to immerse ourselves with the Israeli hacker community. These are just but examples of what can be the benefit of absorbing the future landscape of regulation, and as it comes to predict that and how you can kind of be ahead of that to think about products. And I want to take just one example. 2018, after the Mirai botnet, we all remember the Mirai botnet, right? That sparked attention within policymakers on the focus on IoT security. 2018, we had our first law in California focusing on connected devices. That bill over here, SB 327, it passed. For only default password is based on security measures. Now, we have a full ecosystem of product security regulation with the EU Cyber Resilience Act, the most comprehensive security regulation ever proposed, coming in Europe, already proposed, already in drafting, probably will take effect around 2025, with cyber essential requirements that are going to be relevant to all connected product. This is just but one example. We talked about AI. We are going to have a lot of focus on AI regulation, and I want to just put something on your radar. We already have regulations for AI. The EU has just enacted the EU AI Act. We're going to have requirements for high-risk systems that interact between privacy, security, and AI. This is an opportunity for you. So I'm going to take the last 30 seconds to talk a little bit about my own passion and vision. I used to be the head of cyber policy for Intel, and I see a lot of my colleagues and friends here in the room. And I had the pleasure of working with policymakers around the world and sharing Intel and industry vision on how we can engage better on policies. But this concept of coming together, increasing the trust, can be open to more. This is my new endeavor, co-founded by me and Didi Uzan, my CTO, hopefully here, our CTO in the room. We are the world's first tech-enabled company in the area of policy. And our goal is to democratize access to the most important market intelligence out there, future regulatory and policy demand. We believe that access to policy can be powered by tech, and we can bring more and more entities into the conversation, and access to markets can be powered by policy. I want to invite you to think about all the conversations that you are hearing right here as an inspiration to engage with policymakers to get more familiar with the regulatory landscape, because it is that policy and regulatory landscape that dictates the future of innovate and market demand. If you want to hear more about OpenPolicy, please reach out. I'm excited to be here. I know our time is short here. Thank you, Keren, for sharing the stage with me. And please be in touch, because we know it's going to take all the help we can get to solve these problems. And this requires dialogue, collaboration, and conversations between hackers, entrepreneurs, policymakers, and governments.
Everybody needs a friendly lawyer, just like everybody needs a friendly hacker. I'm so honored and excited to have my sister with me on stage today. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Amit. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the amazing sisters Elazari. Amazing, amazing work. Thank you.